What a challenge you set up to have all these 3 shows right here at the end.
That ain't no challenge. It's no big deal. It's a party now. The work's over. This is the fun stuff. I think it's 25 years ago this week that I played here for the first time.
Really?
I'm having somebody check on that. That's unbelievable.
Yeah?
To be saying something like that. That's incredible. Quarter of a century.
And you're still a kid. How'd you pull that off?
So I'm covering my face with a towel so Pedro can't see how old I look.
Right.
Sit up. Lay it up.
Hey, Brandon, take out the LED ribbon.
Again, it's my hometown. Gotta kick it. Have fun. Yeah. Now you, sir.
25 years ago, almost to the week, we're not supposed to still be here. History, yet again.
That's right.
But be yourselves, have fun up there. No mugging for the camera, no stupid voices, no bug eyes, no have fun.
Yes, sir.
Be men.
Oh, here we go!
You know, I couldn't help but write this record, and when we wrote it and recorded it and it came out the way it did, I wanted to share it. And I did 10 shows, and it was meant to be 10 shows only. But I had so much fun performing these new songs, I said, well, why don't we add 10 more? Why don't we go to... And then, before you knew it, I was doing 100 shows. You know, I flew into here last night at 10:30 at night. I went to bed, went to the gym. I'm talking to you, go to the show, and tomorrow morning I leave. Unfortunately, I don't see the world. What I see is hotel rooms, acclimating to the climates, the gym, the restaurant, the bar, and the airport. It's a shame, but I'm never anywhere long enough, and you can't. You know, you got 130 guys and 27 trucks right now. You can't. I'm exhausted just walking through the hallways. Sick. Where's the boys?
Boys are at the other entrance.
Is there an intrinsic need in Jon Bon Jovi to deliver what his audience needs, or is there simply a need to create?
I want it to be out there because I want to see the reaction. I want to know that it touched your life. I want to know that it touched your life. That I like. There's an 18-year-old kid from Lebanon. Why is he into a guy that's 46 years old who's been making records longer than he's born? Why are we the biggest show here ever? This record's not a hit record here in Abu Dhabi. It's the body of work. It's the history on stage. It's the impact that it's made across generations. This is wild. It's little. And this is the most people they've ever had here. Okay.
If anything goes wrong, sacrifice the girl.
Are you with me?
You write a song and you want it to be a great song, and you want it to be a unique song. And when you write that great song, you want to share it. I've always wanted to share. I'm very comfortable in that environment. People say, do you like playing stadiums? You know, I don't want to go in front of stadiums. I want to be in an intimate club. That. I want to play the desert and sell it out more than once.
Forget about the numbers, how many records and concert tickets. Kids sing the records in clubs to this day. If that's not being relevant, I don't know what is. His experiences and the things he writes about relate to everyday people. And that's, the numbers don't lie. People are living out a prayer on it. You know, crowd singing it word for word. You know, you cut the mixer off and, oh, have we all living out a prayer. The song's bigger than the trend, you can never go wrong. It's when the trend's bigger than the song. Those are the people that fall by the wayside.
Excellent. Oh, I see you.
Yeah, you have a safe flight. Bobby, you're in front man all the way up, buddy, all the way up. Dino! All the way up, buddy! Come on, buddy, you ready?
My life is whirlwind. You know, it could be, you know, deciding where I want to be or what line of work I want to be in that day. If I'm making records or I want to go back to ever making movies, or am I going to spend the fall running around with Barack Obama somewhere, you know, doing those kind of rallies, or am I going to buy into an NFL team? And when you came in, I was on the phone with an agent who said that there's guys that are going to purchase an NFL team who want to fly over and talk to me about being a part of it. So it's amazing. Well, it's not amazing. It's interesting that people are now seeking me out to get into the NFL.
I've had a great interest in football forever. If we were having this discussion about baseball, basketball, or hockey, I would, you know, say thank you very much, but it really isn't a passion. So I'm very open to having a conversation, and a very serious one. I would not ask you to distract me in a city like London if I wasn't so dead serious that that I would waste anyone's time, especially mine. So I tell you, if you could get over 22nd for a Manchester or 27-28 for a London, you get to witness it in all its glory and see the kind of organization I run too. So you don't think of the cliche, oh, here's a guy in a rock band. Trust me, that's not it. I'm the CEO of a major corporation who is running a brand for 25 years.
He is a multitask thinker, you know, and complex in that sense. I'm a more focused on one thing at a time for me, you know, where it's, you know, if I'm going to hit a ball, I'm going to just focus on hitting that ball at the time. Like I've learned to live in the present more than anything, and forget the past, and I don't even think about the future. On a day off, there's nothing better than to go in the country for 6 hours and play golf. It's good enough.
Hello.
You're good, you.
It went well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I thought so, and, you know, I thought you articulated, you know, your whole thing and your passion pretty good. I noticed that he didn't say, I love you because you're a rock star and you sold so many records. He particularly cited your philanthropy and what you've done. But the bottom line is that there's still people, and I don't give a who you are. You walk in, you sit with you in the dressing room, and then a half an hour later, you're convincing 80,000 people. That speaks volumes.
Yeah.
It just does.
He's the kind of guy that we're still not the critics' darling. We're the biggest band. We had the biggest tour. We had the biggest thing, but yet, you know, no recognition. We're kind of getting it in the critics' world, kind of, just a little bit. But like I said to him, I go, you know, you're the kind of guy that has a chip on his shoulder. You have a battery on your shoulder. You know, like that commercial, knock this battery off my shoulder. It's always, I think if the critics said, wow, they're great, maybe we wouldn't fight as hard. I think he's the kind of guy, he just has to prove himself every day.
I write from the most artistic place I can. These are the songs that mean as much to me. This is the kind of music I like to write. You know, art is subjective, and it shouldn't make my music any more important or less important. It just is what it is.
What next, Maestro?
You know what? Forget that. We'll do that tomorrow. Let's do something just a little easier in the vocal.
The message, which I've always liked about the songs, have always been a positive, come from underneath message. And that seems to really people react to that because it's human.
There's some comfort there when you go through something and someone else is feeling the same way you are. We show up at a concert and we deliver those songs that have meant so much to these people. That's why there's a fanaticism there.
There was a changing of the path, where if you'd have gone in one direction, you might not have had the level of success you've had, but you might have had the level of credibility.
I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have written that. And when I did attempt to write more intimate songs, I'm the only one that liked it. You know, I still have a number of those songs on every record, but I did 10 shows in New Jersey that it was, you know, a couple of them were playing this album in its entirety, and people hated it. I loved it. People hated it. They wanted to hear, they wanted to see, and they wanted to be, you know, there's a certain thing that they want. You can take them for a while, and I did. And then you have to find that compromise where you give them what they want and give yourself what you need.
Heard there was a secret chord David played to please the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do you? It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall and the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah.
Sure, the majority of critics at one time or another have taken a pot shot. It's true. When you are that commercially successful as we've been for as long as we've been, people want to hit you in the nose. That's just human nature. Richie gives me a birthday present. It's an autographed Martin guitar from Bob Dylan. Leonard Cohen says his favorite version of Hallelujah is mine. Pretty cool. Those are the guys I really cared about.
She tied you to your kitchen chair. She broke your throne and she cut your hair. And from your lips she drew the hallelujah.
I use one of my cute little analogies about being the Tom Cruise of the music business and the Elvis Costello of the acting business. I got so many great reviews for so many different movie roles and had zero commercial success. And then in the music business, you know, you don't get the pat on the back, but yet the masses. So that puts you in the category of being Arnold Schwarzenegger, Tom Cruise. You know, now you go, do I really want to be Elvis in this business, or do I want to be Cruise and Schwarzenegger and be here forever?
When you sang Hallelujah last night, there was 50,000 silent faces.
They were quiet.
Yeah, it was just like...
Listen.
Yeah, they listened.
There's a ballad called Open All Night on the Bounce record that I love for that reason. And they listen to it, but it gets the polite applause at the end of the track, because it's not that.
Has everyone got to be up all the time, though?
Well, that's a good question. When you perform in front of this many people, I don't like the lull, because I find that I've got to work harder to pull it up, and I pull it, you know, and so that's a bit of my perceived insecurity sometimes is, you know, wanting to keep on going up, you know.
But then you can snatch them back last night with Hallelujah and feel that work.
It's true.
Won't do it with your own songs.
Well, I do, but I don't perform them as often as sometimes I'd like. So I'm aware of it.
Maybe there's a God above, but all I ever learned from love was how to shoot somebody who had a true love.
You know what I try to do, and I realize that I do this to a fault. I try to find the optimism to a point where I won't write the downer song. I have, but I don't typically. Because I want to use the moment for the people that are listening to find something to lift them up. I don't ever say, I need you to help me get through. I don't think they want that from me. And I don't want to show them that. They don't want to see the guy that, well, they might, I'm not going to let them see it.
time to get out, man. I'm counting these down. Trying to work out this Central Park fiasco.
You think it's gonna happen? What if you're getting
The
tickets
mayor's
out?
standing by the phone pissed off. Everybody wants this to happen. It's lawyers.
Right.
They're giving me a heart attack. I'm absolutely over the edge about it. And it's not that baseball are arrogant or ignorant. They're just naive.
Just don't know what they're doing, basically.
They've never done it before.
Yeah. So why don't they just let you do it?
That was how the discussion began 9 weeks ago. They said, you do it. We'll let you do what you guys do.
Right.
And that's how we got involved.
Right.
Then every day it was like, I swear this, they wanted me to sing Take Me Out to the Ball Game on the stage. Now that one I could laugh off. Yeah. That wasn't even stressful. That's like, that's a good laugh.
Well done, John.
John is a guy that, saddles himself with lots of responsibility. He loves that, thrives on it. So, I mean, that's basically, that's kind of like where he comes from, I think, I mean, but I've never seen anybody do it better than him. I mean, but it's not luck. It's thinking about it. And it's like, it's the result of lots of trial and error in his mind. I mean, he's more intense than I am, for sure.
Oh, Jesus. It's been a long 6 weeks. The pressure of playing London.
Is it a pressure or these
Well, it's not a pressure. It's more of the anticipation, and you want to be great, and, self-inflicted wounds. This agita about Central Park, no good deed goes unpunished. It's a free concert, and Ticketmaster want to charge $250 to allow the people not to drive and get a hard ticket, so there might be a surcharge on the ticket. Technically, that's not free, and you're saving people gas and the heartache of going there to get it on the internet for free. It's like, my head's gonna explode. Why am I doing this? And they're like, well, and they're gonna blame you if you cancel. Me, not the agents, not the lawyers, not the city, not the conservancy. Me. All the glory of being the namesake. Everybody's out going to fucking rock shows and tennis matches and dinners and everything else, and I'm in the fucking room on the phone with lawyers and managers and agents and the mayor's office, secret consultants and every other. I wonder why I got a fucking headache and I'm going gray. And I am going gray. They gotta do it themselves at this point. There's nothing more I can do. I'm going home and seeing my babies. Turning the phone off and locking the door. I'm going home tomorrow night. I'll be fine. My cords are fine. I'm not beat up, I'm just... God, it's been 6 weeks, a long time.
Sorry about the last one, John.
How you doing, sir? Welcome back.
Come in. Hi, John Boy.
Buddy.
Is that merch for the kids?
So nice. Yeah, there's a bunch of kids. There's Miles Booth, it's right, number one.
Yeah.
Son, and Bill Rode's kids, and then the adults right behind him.
Okay.
So, you ready to roll?
Yeah.
Okay.
Give me 30 sweat, 10 seconds. Okay.
Okay, guys, we have a special visitor.
Hi, Bill.
Oh my God.
Hi, honey. Nice to see you. Daughter Noah.
I mean, I could be a psychologist right now and just tell you I think he misses his family. Ever since I had a son, that became my most important thing. Above anything, his family anyway, has always been that way.
So I'm going home tonight. I'm good. I'm great. I'm really great.
Yeah, you look good. So the first time you're gonna see the family in 6 weeks.
That's the hardest part for all of us, is family at this point. To me, it's the most important part. So sometimes you need that simple grounding of your spouse and kids to make you really realize what you're doing and why you're doing it. And, you know, you can get lost out here. You know, you could be going through that. You know, I'm a drummer. I'm an observant person. I mean, that's what I look for.
It's a very selfish place, you know, to be me doing this. There's 4 kids at home that are going, where the f are you? You know, everybody's got their significant other around, or, you know, my family can't. They gotta go to school. There's 4 kids.
We'll see you guys up on stage, okay?
Okay.
You're gonna be coming up on stage, yep, right on the stage. You'll see.
Wow, that'd be amazing.
Good to see you.
Bye.
Thanks, John.
Go get him, John.
See you, buddy.
This ain't such a romantic life at the end of the day. Trust me, it's fucking stressful. You know, and I told you how psychotic is it to sit in an empty room like this, go onto a stage with 70,000 screaming maniacs, get back in the car and there's total silence, and then go back to a hotel room and sit there all by yourself. Compounded with the fact that the team beat Dallas last night. It's 5 a.m. when we finally got back here. The band are asleep. I can't call anybody at home. I have to sit in that silence of that room with my ears ringing, wanting to go, yeah! And go that we beat Dallas for the 2nd time this season. I just got off this massive stage, and you go, that's all there is. Ringing, you know, and that'll f your head up.
That's but there's a dissatisfaction there.
No, it's a lonely existence in those moments. It's lonely.
We do it, Walt. We're ready to go. We got to get off by 10:30. Let's go. Let's get this show on the road. Bobby, Lorenzo, you, come on. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. I got a lot of reasons to get out of here. 50,000 of them. Yo!
We did a lot for 6 weeks.
That way. Here we go. Right this way.
Okay,
Come
back
on,
to the room.
Bring it home.
Thank you. We're going home.
See my baby, baby, I'm going home.
You live and breathe the band. Is there a big personal cost to you because of that? Because you run this corporation?
No, there's 24 hours in the day. I mean, maybe the cost is that I've spent too many nights sleeping in hotel rooms with a sleeping pill and a bottle of wine and missing my kids' school play. That's a cost. Other than that, whatever I wanted to do artistically, whether it worked or didn't, I did. There was never the fear of anything.
Travel safe. I hope we'll see you again. Good night.
After Slippery, the crazy success of it, and it went 60 million records, whatever it did, and there was a lot of touring. The touring was almost senseless. Senseless in the fact that you didn't know where you were and why you were there anymore. It became a machine, which was well-oiled, but you forgot why you were out there anymore. We never really sat for a minute and really reveled in the success, because it just went by because we were part of that machine. Which almost, at one point, almost was the demise of the band.
Don't seem all you need to change every day. It seems they're wasting away. Another place where the beaches are so cold. Drive on now to get back.
We were just a mess, man. Emotionally, physically. Life had changed drastically from 3 years prior to that. And in that 3 years going through that, we were in the cocoon of a tour. The cocoon of being in the biggest rock and roll band, without a doubt, at that point in time. We sold more records than any rock and roll band during those 3 years and more tickets.
Every other hour of every single day was spent together. We'd vacation together. We didn't have houses, so we'd live in hotels together. It will drain you, because in a weird way, it's a sexless marriage. And it's family, but it's not. So you get to that crossroad and you burn out like we did.
At the end of the tour, it was grueling. We were gone. We were just done.
So what happened next?
Then it was done. Then it was, we got done with New Jersey, and kind of everybody just went home. There was like a government problem, and with Mexico, I think somebody got assassinated or some crap, and they had to cancel the show, and there was going to be riots, so we had 2 shows in one day. We had a margarita machine on the stage for the second one. John's drinking. I mean, that guy never, everybody is always dead on. But we were done. And then we kind of just like went home. Everybody went to sleep. It was time for there to be something happening.
Trying to fit back into life after that was the tricky part, I think. And I had said to myself, and I some inherently knew it in my spirit or something, that this wasn't the end for us. Because our last record, we had 5 top 10 hits and sold out every show and did 16 and a half months worth of concerts. And they came to us and said, do you want to do another 70 shows? And we went, we got to stop, man, because everybody was just a mess.
Then John fired Doc. And there was a whole big situation went on with that. Doc was sort of recruiting, wanted us on one side, and to work it against John because he wanted to be the manager. And so there was, that kind of games going on.
There was a lot of stuff that needed to be straightened out. There was business stuff that needed to be straightened out. There was an emotional thing that needed to be straightened out. There was ill feelings against each other because, management would be talking to one guy behind his back and one guy to Johnny and telling him one thing and selling me something else.
And then John came back and we had those meetings and said, listen, I'm putting it all back together. We're firing Doc. I'm going to take this vision. I believe we can do it. And hired a shrink.
I mean, Luke Cox helped us a lot as a group to be able to deal with each other.
When he came along, was there a sense that it could be over if you didn't sort something out?
It was almost over. It was John's, I don't know who told him about it. I think it was the guys in Aerosmith or something. He found out about it. And he diligently went after and seeked out Lou.
That's the rebellion, regardless of, who you are personally and what you represent in the marketplace. It's the rebellion in you that says, I can, I will, it's just a matter of when. So that silly blind faith has pulled me through my life, no matter what it was. Aerosmith's manager at the time was a guy named Tim Collins, and I liked him a lot. We would talk on occasion. He told us about this guy named Luke Cox, who, he had no ulterior motive, no commissions involved. Anyhow, he came in and got us to just speak better than anyone else could have, because somebody would have had an ulterior motive.
I looked and said, fucking shrink. It's for sick people. So you look and you go, there's nothing wrong with me, there's nothing wrong with you. Everybody went, nothing wrong with me, there's nothing wrong with you. But he was just trying to get everybody to communicate. And that's what he did. And it really helped us just to be honest enough to go on.
We've got to keep the faith.
Blue Cox is a great thing, as much as you thought you were. Everybody is. And it really helped you to learn to say the things that you couldn't say in a safe place.
And he was a saving grace. That was our big secret for years and years, and now, you know, Metallica made a movie like that, REM went to the guy, Goo Goo Dolls went to the guy. We just sent him to tons of people. When, you know, any drummer in any band or any bass player, any guitar player goes, no, it ain't about him, it's about me. He's got lead singers. I mean, that's just the way rock bands are. By 1992, I can honestly say that was over around here. Everybody understood the future.
Today, it is my pleasure to announce a performance by one of the biggest rock bands ever, revered by millions around the world, Bon Jovi. So without further ado, please welcome their lead singer and my fellow international heartthrob, Mr. John Bon Jovi. Why'd you laugh at that?
Thank you. Thank you. This has been a team effort. Everybody has worked very, very hard for a lot of hours to try to make this happen and make it a reality. This is really a dream come true, and for me, the perfect bookend to an incredible tour, and in the greatest city in the world, bar none. This is the center of the universe, folks, and I've just traveled the globe again, got home from the UK yesterday, and I'll tell you, once again, loudly and proudly, New York is the greatest city in the world. So thank you for coming here, and we'll see you on the 12th of July.
It doesn't seem strange to the group, but from the outside looking in, it's a John Bon Jovi Enterprise, Inc., which incorporates Bon Jovi as a band. They're all employees and are very happy to be so. Is it a day job for them, and is that pressure for you?
No, it's just the truth of the matter is like a football team, somebody has to be the quarterback. Quarterback can't win without a line to protect him. It's a team effort. It's the Henry Ford theory of management. It's somebody's name has to be on the top and the ultimate decision maker, but it is a team effort. True, it isn't a democracy. There are bands that have, 5 members and then 5 wives all have equal votes. The day that the bass player's wife tells me when I'm gonna tour, ain't coming. It's never coming.
But it does the dynamic work because Daddy knows best kind of approach, and because you've always had the...
Daddy doesn't know best. I learned, by trial and error. I screw up as much or more than anyone else does. But I've had a vision. The vision seems to work.
How is it affected by the fact that it's not a democracy and that it's got a leader? Essentially, you're not bothered about it.
I'm semi-bothered about it, but not enough to ruin my life. And also that John, like I said, he made it out at the beginning to be his deal, and we were connected to him. So he's like, I'm the guy, I'm the boss, I'm the one, it's my vision, you're on the ride with my vision, and your vision combining our vision. And so you look and you go, if we were unsuccessful, we're unsuccessful. We're hugely successful, so you gotta go, okay.
And
can't fight City Hall, you know what I mean? He's not gonna turn around and go, you know what, let's just make this a complete democracy. Maybe he will one day. Say, you know what, it's a complete democracy, you know, everybody say everything is completely even. And you would look and go, okay. You know, first, you know, immediately check the Prozac or whatever he's, you know, he's on, but that's not what that's not what works for us. And it's not, you know, life is good and bad. It's not bad enough to walk away from, and it's good enough that it's really good. I mean, I can still say, even though it's his band, I still have a part in it. It's still my say. I wouldn't leave and say, you know, I felt that if you didn't have me there, he wouldn't have made it. If he didn't have these guys here, that he wouldn't have made it.
Look, it's John's band. He's the leader, and he's a good leader, and he's strong. But he's a multitasker, and there's certain things that get by him, you know, as a human being. It's only natural, you know. And within ourselves, somebody picks up slack here and picks up here, and that's what makes it work.
My journey, I think, has been steadfast to be John's right-hand man. You know, I mean, I've always had it in my head the success of our band was going to be our leader being very, very happy. And I tried to, you know, always be there for him, you know, from as a friend and as a musical level, from a friendship standpoint, from a business standpoint. Like I said, I want to make sure, if I can help John be in a great mood as much as possible, I'm going to do it, you know, and that's been a part of, you know, what I've put on myself for responsibility, and the guys too. Hey man, this is the thing where, you know, that was part of my gig, you know, and then it started to fall apart a little bit when I was broken, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't fulfill that responsibility myself and the guys anymore, and that's when I think when they started to realize they needed to pick me up.
Gone in the back of my mind, white sand, sunshine. I was saying hot sand.
Richie said, without being dramatic, that you've saved him this last year.
You know, that sounds very heroic, but I was very aware that he needed a distraction, which was cold work, so that he wouldn't be totally consumed with his father's illness and what was happening at home.
The thing about Lost Highway was that it was honest. A lot of it was what I was going through in my life. My divorce and my dad dying, and there was all that leaving going on, you know? And that's a song that I didn't write. And John was still writing about me, I believe.
Pretty cold for late September. And all winds been creeping. Summer sun's packed up his long gone. There's a whole lot of leaving going on.
I was going through such a dark period that it was impossible for him, because we're so close, not to feel it a little bit.
I think it's time we hit the road. I just might call that band the Gypsies. We're searching for our pot of gold. We see right lately there's a whole lot of leaving going on.
Physically, I was shaking. I was not well, and emotionally, I needed a lot of work, you know. And I was just getting through it. You know, I thought I was getting through it. I thought I was getting through it.
You're turning up.
I was turning up, and you know, I had broken my arm, and the pain pill started, and the boozing, and all that. And, you know, I mean, I just was I was kind of gone. You know, I was kind of gone.
How does one? I mean, we all have our demons, but how does one get stuck in that? Do you know? Have you worked it out?
You know.
Do you care?
Yeah, I do care. Yeah. You know, I mean, quite frankly, it was, like I said, it was life just mounting up on me. And then having such a big life in this band. It's big, man. It's not, this is a machine and a mechanism that encompasses you on a emotional level. If you're going to bring that, you know. And for me, I'm bringing 100% every time I show up. Sometimes it's a little less than what I can possibly muster, but nobody's perfect, you know. So, but I think life really kind of got on board with me in that particular couple-year period of time, and it was a time where now I look at it as a growth period, obviously. But yeah, I think that's part of the reason I was trying to get away, man. You know, and it was working, to be honest with you. And that's a rough thing.
Get away from you?
Yeah, get away from myself and just get away from what was happening to me at that time and almost not to feel anything. I just wanted to just kind of just be peaceful and not feel anything. And it was, I was killing myself slowly in that respect. But that's not the way to live.
What's up, baby? What's up?
I'm good. Good.
You're apparently really busy.
Yeah, I've been busy. I did a couple TV shows. I did a PBS special with B.B. King, which was really cool. And then I did a thing with Les Paul.
A lot of little side projects.
A lot of, yeah, lucky. It's good for me. Keeps me out of trouble.
Oh, that's good.
It's true. That's the way I battle it. Stay busy.
I was killing myself with drinking years ago. I was the kind of person that wouldn't drink for months and then just load off 2 bottles. And a lot of that was shit I had to learn about my father leaving me when I was a kid. And come to grips with it, there was a lot of anger behind that. And the guys saw that.
He had a lot of demons, so he was a really bad drunk. I'm a happy drunk. I'll drink my bottle of wine and just sit here and smile and pass out and go to bed. That's the highlight of my day. That's all I'll do. But T was a very mean man. He'd get you in a lot of trouble with a lot of people. But fortunately, his is the most together life of all of ours.
But I learned about myself, and through seeking people like Lou and to help me out and stuff, I found out that anger was since I was left as a kid by my father. I came to grips with that. I met him years later, after 20 years, 25 years later, and I was able to come to terms with that and forgive him, forgive myself. And I'm really okay. I mean, I've 180-degree turn. The fact that I had, 4 brothers come up to me and say, we care about you, was big. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same way I go up to anybody in the band. I care about you. I see this.
At first, I was ashamed of it, because you feel like you have a duty as a role model. And obviously, my life is so good. How did I get so broken? You know what I mean? Well, I should be a man and be standing up. My band and my family picked me up, and my daughter really helped me out a lot, Gave me a reason to get clear and be strong again and come back. And John often says to me, Richie's back, man. I'm back to where I used to be.
When did I first see you? When you were 16 or 17, something like that?
18.
Isn't that freaky?
Yeah, Tico and I go to this girl's house one time. With this girl, Tico comes in with her mom. That's the first time we met.
I'm sitting in the living room with the girl's mom, and this kid's coming out fixing his shirt, and it's him.
Then, a couple of years later, I go to this other girl's house, and I'm in the bed with this girl, right? I look up and see a picture of Tico on the wall. I'm going,
everywhere you go,
this guy's
Tico.
following me, man. It's crazy. It's funny, though.
You can't write that stuff.
I've had some slips and some bumps in the road this year and other stuff, but for the most part, it's been the most sober, most clear view, most healthy year of my life in the last 20 years.
My dear friend, my right-hand man, guitar player extraordinaire. How are you? I want to dedicate this song for all you all out there tonight. For being there for me over the last couple of years, thank you very, very much. I'll be there for you. say you cried 1,000 rivers, and now you're swimming to the shore. You left me drowning in my tears, and you won't save me anymore. I'm praying to God for one more chance, girl.
To me, any artist needs to find fuel wherever he can. Reading different books, seeing different movies and plays, whatever it is that inspires you. You know, in Tico's sobriety, he found golf and art and a whole different circle of friends. I absolutely encourage everyone to go and find different circles of friends, simply because when we get together, we have something else to talk about. Dave might have his chance to shine for the first time in his life. He's gonna have 2 plays in production. He's been working very hard. And Richie, of course, is, you know, at a crossroads in his life and has to go and figure all that stuff out. I may be really rooted right now, and just on that steady course of knowing who I am, what I am, where I'm going. So it's nice, maybe watch them blossom.
I started out moonlighting in the theater world, and before this last tour, there was a break for a year and a half, almost 2 years. And I said, this would be the perfect time for my musical. You know, in the band, I play a part. You know, it's John's vision, and we back him up to death, and then add our parts of our vision within that vision. And in this world, it's my vision.
Love and very proud of Dave's going to do these plays, because I have nothing to do with it, less than nothing to do with it. And I am just sitting there like his #1 fan, rooting from the corner and wanting to see it come to fruition.
I found art again in the early 90s. And what it did is it was giving me a chance to be spiritual by myself. I mean, you get so creative making records. But then when you're on tour, you're not all that creative. You know, every night you're playing. Art was something I didn't need anybody else for. I needed to do on my own. And spiritually got everything out of me, whether it was, you know, love, anger, whatever I wanted. I couldn't be arrested for it.
Here we go.
It's going to take corporate dollars, private sector donations, and the hard work ethic of people like the Williams family, for example, in order for us to revitalize these neighborhoods, these streets, one soul at a time, one neighborhood at a time, one state at a time. Everybody, thank you.
John, one of our other partners is an organization called Rebuilding Together, very similar to Habitat. And they are the ones that we worked with in helping to rebuild Miss Ward's house. That's the house we're about to go to.
That's over here, the big green
Miss Ward's
side?
house.
Oh, no. That's Big Mama's house over there.
Big Mama's house is different.
All right, got it.
This is John Bon Jovi.
Hi, how do you do, man?
My boss.
Nice
John,
to
you wanna
meet
sit
you.
and have a...
Come over here and stand beside me. When I first moved here 20-some years ago, it was a raggedy house and a leaning garage. And everybody would pass to my, ooh, that woman living in that little house on the prairie and it's falling down. And
So they did it
fixed
quick.
this. Ooh, they fixed it good.
I'll say, it looks gorgeous. I'm glad you have grandkids and great-grandkids all have a nice place to come and
And
play.
this ain't half. I done filled up Detroit.
We got 1, 2. I'm gonna go.
I didn't put my teeth in, so I filled my mouth.
You can't always just take, you gotta give. That's the laws of the universe. And to find something, like I said, that can affect anyone, everyone, I think I found the thing that works for me.
That's been an important piece of this band is growth. Individually, everybody has their own individual projects and stuff that is enriching to their own spirit. That's very important stuff. You know, I mean, it's like, you know, I'm dying to do a record. again. I love making records, just, you know, beyond the band, but just working with other artists. And, you know, I love to get called for sessions and do movie soundtracks and, you know, branch out. Because, you know, working with other producers and other great musicians, it's always a great interchange of, yeah, I'll teach you this, you teach me that. You know, it's a part of the ongoing education process of what makes this organization work.
Now to the Bon Jovi concert in Central Park.
Over 60,000 people in the park tonight.
It's a musical frenzy in the streets.
A massive free concert on the Great Lawn.
And now some eager fans getting in there to rock out with Bon Jovi.
Looks good. Looks like a lot of fun. Fabulous.
It'll be fantastic. It'll be great. I know the songs.
Do you? You know the neighborhood, too.
I know the neighborhood. It's nice. I walked down in my building first. Everybody's like, ah, we're kings in New York.
How many of these are our fans, and how many of these are people that just showed up for the first time?
I think there's a lot more new people to the band than there are fans out there.
Really?
Yes, it looks that way.
I see. I can't pull off any of my cheap tricks then. But you could do I Love This Town Saturday Night Wanted and not do Always. More masculine not to do the ballad, but
I think that's gonna go over huge here.
Monster hit.
Yeah.
Jacques!
Happy birthday, my friend.
Thank you, brother.
I'm so glad you're getting closer to me. It makes me feel so good.
I'm catching up to you.
How's Ava?
Coming in? She's going to see the Jonas Brothers tonight.
Priorities, huh?
Yep. Yeah, you, Dad. You're only playing Central Park, making history.
Right.
I don't give a Jonas Brothers. I love Nick.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19.
That's gonna be about right at 2 hours.
That's it. Okay, unless you
Good,
see
man.
it's any different. That's how I see it.
So, wanted out how it feels to be at home for the final stretch of this long tour.
It's good not to call room service, I can tell you that, you know? But what a way to end up. We started 10 nights in New Jersey and ended up with the biggest show of the year in New York at Central Park on the Great Lawn. Not too many people played here. It was Diana Ross, Pavarotti, Streisand, and they messed up and let a rock band in. That's right. Every level of my career, and I probably think that this is true of most artists, you think that is the big time. When you played your first block dance in Sayreville, you thought that was the big time. To the club in Asbury, to getting a record deal you thought was the big time, to headlining for the first time you thought was the big time, to when Slippery came you thought it can't get any bigger than Slippery. And then when you look back and you go, oh no, subsequent tours were so much bigger. You never really run out of what is the big time.
We're tight fist. Yeah. And it works better that way. You know, if you go to tight fist the world, as musicians, it's not you being angry. It's just that, oh, we're gonna do it together. You know, we're gonna fight to make it the best band, the best music, the best show possible. That's in our upbringing. That's a Jersey, New York signature. You'll find it with anybody from that area. You know, you play 1,000 clubs, you play 100 different bands, and you learn that. You know, that's the cloth you're made of.
I'm just getting warmed up now and I want to tell you that, honest to God, from the bottom of my heart,
25 years ago when, you know, you'd walk across the streets of this city and you dream about someday making a record and you want all the greats that played here before you, you know, if it was Simon and Garfunkel or even most recently the Dave Matthews Band, no wonder, you know, this was one that you dream of. This is the one that we can say that we did that the Beatles and the Stones never did, you know?
So was that for Slippery When Wet 25 years ago?
It's before the first record.
Really?
Yeah.
That's right.
Summer before the first record.
Oh, baby. How you doing? What's up, brother?
Hey, baby.
How are you?
Excellent, thanks.
I'm gonna sign. I'm learning my name.
Those guitars are gonna sign.
It's your fault.
I'm sorry. You're doing the no-look process? Lemon does the no-look process. Didn't look, he just...
I really do think it was 25 years ago this week.
Hey, did you take a picture of my mom and Nate and me? Come here.
No, I don't take pictures.
Mom,
Yeah, Grandma.
but just the three of us.
You
You look
look
wonderful. Stop it.
I have to pose.
I had already put, okay.
The underlying stuff of what we talked about in the songs, there's those bonds that are there. And it comes from the way we grew up and the era that we grew up in and our parents. You guys got to go to hospitality because we got to start getting ready.
Okay, let's go.
Now it's boys' time.
Yes,
Boys'
hello.
time.
How you doing? Oh, you look fantastic. I like the shirt on you. It's nice.
I'm green today.
You're the green woman. That's great. Yeah. That lineage and heritage has come through us. And now we're giving it to our kids and we're giving it to our fans.
Take pictures with you too.
Is it working?
Really?
Since we had 2 birthdays back to back.
Oh,
look at this. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
I love you, Angel.
How are you?
I'm good, sweetheart. Break a leg tonight.
Which one?
Both. Birthday cake's over there. It's my 7th birthday cake. Told Daddy 3 nights ago, you have all the friends. I have no friends. Nobody calls me. Nobody likes me. I have nothing.
I got over 100 and some cakes, presents. So now I'm loved again.
All right, Bugsy, you're up.
When we first gave these out, they were symbols of what was then Slippery When Wet. And it was in this hallway 21 years ago that we gave out the first dozen. And since then, I'd say that there's probably about 100, maybe 100. And people are, I hope, pretty proud to earn one of these because it really means that we've been through a lot together. So let's just go right down the list. So Morgan's first.
The medallion is it's them saying, man, you're in the club.
Couldn't be a nicer bad guy, I'm telling you. Thanks for playing.
When I got mine, it was a big deal for me because it meant that they acknowledged that I had proven myself valuable to this organization and I was a part of it.
Hey, thank you very much. Thank you, pal. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Poor guy almost killed himself for us. Class of 2008.
To what we've got, it doesn't make a difference if we made or not. We got each other, and I tell a lot for love. We'll give it a shot, you
You were a gang right from the outset, basically.
Do you think other bands don't have that? When I think of the Beatles, they may have flaws, but if maybe it's my beautiful romantic vision of the world. But Keith and Mick and Charlie, like that's gotta be embedded in their being.
And if the phone rang and if you picked up that phone and any one of these guys said help, it ain't about a record, it ain't about anything. It's like, what do you need? What can I do for you?
Sometimes we imagine we connect on stage where you couldn't fit a slither of paper between us. The real fans that know us see us as a band of brothers.
Yeah, there's not many things that we don't know about each other after all these years. I think that's, it's like there's really nothing to hide at this point.
But I'm definitely know more about these guys than I do my own brothers. There's no question.
We got
There isn't any real come down period, man. You take a couple weeks off and you get the kids and go on vacation. You do that, and then John and I inherently we get together and start writing again. Start stockpiling for the next installment. The next chapter of what Bon Jovi is gonna look like. Where do you go now? Where's the next road, man? Where's the next path? And that's the exciting part of it, you know? I mean, I'm looking forward to that.
The world is cracked. The sky is torn. I'm hanging in your arms.
It'll be interesting to see where I go next year. I can tell you that the mind is starting to spin. I'm also at a crossroads, emotionally and spiritually, that I just can't pack up a suitcase and go again. Just can't. It's a process, and it's a tough one. It's a tough process. 25 years in the history is, I'm in the process.